And welcome to the CINCILINGUA membership live lesson. My name is Joe, and I'll be your teacher today. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box, and I'll try to answer them at the end of the lesson. So I really want to welcome you. Thank you for joining. Today we'll be talking about vocabulary and expressions for shopping, for going shopping, both grocery shopping and shopping for clothes. So in this lesson, we'll talk first about groceries. And groceries refers to the food that you buy in the store. Those are groceries. And of course, the store where you buy them is the grocery store. Some people pronounce it more like grocery with an SH. I've heard both pronunciations all my life, grocery or grocery. So we're going to the grocery store first. And one question I'd like you to think about is whether or not you'd like to go grocery shopping. And that's the expression we use, to go grocery shopping. I personally don't enjoy it because I find it difficult to navigate through the aisle or all the aisles. With all the people, it's rather hard to move your grocery cart where you place your food, your groceries. You have to dodge in and out, and I find that difficult. But it has to be done. We all have to go grocery shopping. So when you're in the grocery store, there are many aisles, and I want to point out something special about this word, the way it's spelled, A-I-S-L-E. The S is silent. We don't pronounce the S at all. It sounds like aisle, aisle. There are aisles on an airplane, aisles in a theater, aisles in a church, and aisles in the grocery store. So in a grocery store, of course, items are organized in the different aisles. And you might ask the clerk, for example, where can I find tortillas? And we do pronounce it tortilla, even in English. And the clerk might respond, the tortillas are in aisle 11. There are often signs to indicate which food items are in which aisles. And as I said, in a big grocery store, the aisles can be pretty crowded. Do you think it's good to go on a Saturday? That's when a lot of people go. And I think that's when the aisles would be crowded. If you have to buy many groceries, you'll need a grocery cart. Usually, you just take a grocery cart from near the entrance when you enter the grocery store. But in some places, you have to deposit a quarter now for security, and then return the grocery cart. I think you get the quarter back. But it's kind of funny, and maybe it's because I live in Chicago, a big city where they have to be really careful that people don't take the grocery cart home. What about in your city? Is this how it's usually done in the grocery stores? Do you have to pay to use a grocery cart? And if you need help in the grocery store, you can ask a clerk. The clerk is someone who works in the grocery store, um, putting food on the shelves for people to buy, bagging groceries. When you pay for your groceries, someone has to bag them to put them in bags. Um, there's an example here. The local grocery store employs many high school students as clerks. Of course, nowadays, people of all ages might work as clerks in a grocery store. Um, they can be older, senior citizens. They can be 18 years old, any age. Some people work as clerks in a grocery store for extra money in addition to their regular job. And we have a second example under clerk. The clerk put Julie's money into the cash register and gave me change, or it probably should read gave her change. We also call the clerk who works at the cash register the cashier. The cashier. The clerk who accepts your money and gives you your change is the cashier. And the cashier works at the checkout. The checkout is the point at which you pay for your items. One of the things I don't like about grocery shopping is waiting in the checkout line. They can be very long. Of course, there's the option if you only have a few items to go to the express line or the express lane to check out your items. And nowadays we have self-checkout, right? Um, we can scan the items ourselves and pay for them and get our change without the help of a cashier or clerk. That's called self-checkout. I always thought that that was a little impersonal. Being old-fashioned, I like someone to help me, a person. How do you feel about that? Do you prefer to have a person help you, or are you happy with the self-checkout? And if we talk about the different kinds of items we buy in a grocery store, there's dairy, which includes milk, cheese, and butter in the dairy section. Some people are allergic to dairy. Nowadays, we know that many people are allergic to dairy. They can't have it in their food. But that's what dairy is: milk, cheese, butter, things made from milk. We also buy produce at the grocery store. Produce is the vegetables and fruits. They're in the produce section or the produce department. The verb form of produce is produce. That's the verb. He needs to produce many products to sell. But when we talk about vegetables and fruit, it's produce. Produce. And I'll move this up a little more. Besides the produce section, there's the deli. Deli is short for delicatessen. And it's a place where we can buy meats and sometimes cheeses. So at the deli, we buy chicken, pork, and beef. And maybe there's a butcher there to cut the meat for us into slices. Or we can just buy it prepackaged at the deli. That's the deli section of the grocery store. Some grocery stores are very large. We call them supermarkets. supermarkets, and they have other things besides groceries. Many of them include a pharmacy, um, and medical products, and there may be a place to buy wine and beer. Um, but the term grocery refers to the food that we buy in the store. Um, Looking at the conversation would be good because there's some expressions we can use. So the customer can ask the clerk, "Excuse me, can you help me?" The clerk says, "Yes, I would be happy to help you." The customer asks, "Can you tell me where I can find mushrooms?" Mushrooms. Mushrooms are in the produce department. We have many varieties. And the customer can ask, "And where can I find spaghetti noodles and Parmesan cheese?" The clerk may say, "The pasta is in aisle 7 with the sauces. Cheese is in the dairy section." And the customer, "My last question is, do you have cookbooks? My wife expects me to make spaghetti tonight. It's our anniversary." The clerk responds, "We have many cookbooks in aisle 3. Good luck and happy anniversary." Talking about cookbooks makes me think, do you usually make a grocery list before you go grocery shopping to help you remember what you need to buy? It's always good to make a grocery list if you have several items or more. I often come home from the grocery store and realize I forgot something. Does this happen to you? We have some questions for discussion. Um, Name 2 ways to save money in a grocery store. Can you think of 2 ways to save money? Certainly one is to use coupons. Coupons. A coupon could be a little piece of paper, or nowadays everything's digital. Um, and it will give you 50% off an item, or $1 off a particular item. That certificate or piece of paper is called a coupon. In your case, do you buy large or small quantities of food? Why? I live alone, so I try to buy small quantities of food so the food doesn't spoil before I eat it. Um, in a supermarket, it can be hard to buy smaller quantities of food. They tend to have larger units. Um, there's a note here that in the United States, superstores are very popular. Superstores are stores that sell groceries, paper products, clothes, household items, and many other things. People in the United States seem to love one-stop shopping. Are superstores common in your country, or do you have to go to a different store for each type of item? I like superstores because I like one-stop shopping. I like to be able to get everything in one place. I wouldn't like to have to go to different stores for different kinds of items. Besides the term superstore, well, I guess that is a little different from supermarket. Supermarket is a very large grocery store. A superstore has more than groceries, as we were just talking about. How often do you go to the grocery store? To be honest, I don't go very much. I should. It would be healthier and cheaper. But I live by myself, as I said, and I tend to order out or go to a nearby restaurant, which gets very expensive. And I could save money by going grocery shopping. What about you? What do you do normally? What's your favorite fruit? Of course, you would buy your favorite food in the produce section, as we were saying above. I like apples. That's my favorite fruit. And I'm not very good at selecting them. To be honest, I never learned really how to do a good job of grocery shopping. But I think there's kind of an art to it, a skill. And some people are fine with it, and don't mind the crowds. And here's a conversion table because something to remember. In the United States, as you may know, we don't use normally liters, milliliters, grams, kilograms. We talk about pounds and ounces, the old English system. I think we're the one country in the world that hasn't changed. Uh, it would be better if we did, in my opinion, but we haven't changed. Still on some items, and certainly on medicine, you'll find the grams, kilograms, or liters. Um, it's normal to buy a 2 liter of Diet Coke, but normally we buy a gallon of milk. And we see that a gallon is worth or is equal to 4.546 liters. So if you can do that math, that's great. But if you come to live in the United States, you may have to get used to the different measuring system and use pounds and ounces, gallons, pints, in order to go shopping. Now we'll talk about shopping for clothes, which is different from grocery shopping. We usually buy our clothes in a department store, although, as we were saying before, there are some superstores that have clothes and groceries. I'm thinking of a store like Walmart. You can get both in the same store. Um, but many people still go to a department store to buy clothes. It's called a department store because there's a different department for the different types of clothes. Um, these can be very large. And again, they get crowded. And I personally don't enjoy them. Um, it's something I do because I have to. What about you? Do you enjoy shopping for clothes? In my case, I know what I want before I go into the store. I go in, buy it, and leave. But some people like to shop around and look around and see what's available in the department store. One of my more difficult memories is when I was a boy and my mother would go shopping for my sister's clothes, and I would have to go with her and stand and stand and stand while she shopped for clothes for my sisters. This was a very strong form of suffering as far as I'm concerned. It was very boring. And to this day, I avoid going shopping for clothes unless I have to. As I said, when I do go shopping for clothes, I go in, I get what I need, and I leave. Um, Are you someone who enjoys the whole shopping process? I also wanted to say something about two expressions that are similar in sound but have a different meaning. For sale versus on sale. For sale means an item is available to be sold. Is this sweater for sale or only for display? In other words, can I buy this sweater or is it only for the display? That's for sale. This car is for sale. Now that's different from on sale. On sale means being sold for a discount. I went to buy several shirts today because they are on sale. The price is lower than usual, so they are on sale. So you want to watch the difference between for sale and on sale. When you buy clothes, you want to go into the fitting room. The fitting room. That's a private room in the store, in the department. A little, very little room with a curtain or a door for trying on clothes before you buy them. To try on is an idiom. You put on the clothes to see if they fit, if they are the correct size. And so we want to see if the clothes fit. And someone might ask us, does it fit? Does it fit? I might say, no, it doesn't fit. It's too small. Or if it's a shirt or pair of pants, I might say it's too tight, too tight. For example, these pants are too tight. I need a larger size. As I get older, that happens more frequently. And here are some items that you might buy in a department store when you go shopping for clothes. For example, a coat. Here we see a raincoat, overcoat. They're a little bit similar, but a raincoat is specifically for when it's raining. Um, where I live in Chicago, it's a very good idea to have a raincoat. Um, overcoat. Overcoat is nicer and it's a more formal coat that you wear over your suit. So if you're wearing a suit and tie and you want to look really nice when you go somewhere, you put on an overcoat, an overcoat. Of course, there are regular winter coats for the cold weather. They can be very thick, very practical, like in the picture. This is not an overcoat. This is just a winter coat. And it's a good idea to have both kinds, especially if you're a professional. For casual things, you want to wear a regular winter coat. But for business meetings and formal occasions, it's nice to put an overcoat over your suit. And what is a suit? Suit. Um, that's a, a coordinated set of clothes. Men often wear a suit to professional jobs. They wear a suit and tie. You can see in the picture that the man is wearing a suit and tie. He may be adjusting his tie, or maybe it's uncomfortable. I don't like to wear ties. I will on a formal occasion, but I prefer to wear business casual all the time. Now, this sentence says most business people wear a suit to work every day. I don't think that's true anymore. Things have become more informal, and business casual is the acceptable way to dress for many jobs. Even I have seen in lawyers' offices, they don't wear suits and ties anymore. They wear business casual or even more casual. What about you in your job? Do you wear a suit to work every day? Um, Women wear suits too. There are women suits. Um, do you have to wear a tie to work? Some men wear a tie that looks like a bow at the neck. And then, of course, there are jackets. That's part of a suit. We can talk about the suit jacket or a sports jacket is one part of a suit. There's other kinds of jackets. For example, in the spring, many people wear a light jacket instead of coats. Pants. The man at the store measured my legs in order to choose pants that were my size. Of course, we can also talk about a pair of pants. When we talk about a pair of pants, it's singular. This pair of pants is too big. But if we just say pants, we treat it like a plural noun, even though we're talking about one pair. And I say, oh, these pants are too big. These pants are too big. Another word for pants is slacks. It's always seemed to me that slacks is a more formal word for pants. If there's a difference, I don't know what it is. If he doesn't wear a suit today, he will probably wear slacks and a shirt and tie. But basically, slacks is another name for pants. You probably are familiar with a sweater. In the winter, I usually wear a sweater over a turtleneck to stay warm. The turtleneck you can see in the picture is a shirt where the collar is very big. We call that a turtleneck. I like sweater weather. That's an expression we use in a place like Chicago where we have hot weather and cold weather. But in the spring and in the autumn, it can be cool and comfortable. You need something to stay warm, but not a heavy coat. We call that sweater weather. You wear a sweater during that time of year. Bathrobe. Some hotels offer bathrobes to their guests to wear after they shower. We see a picture here, a colorful bathrobe you put on after you get out of the shower. Pajamas. I know the word is pretty close in Spanish. Todd's pajamas consist of a t-shirt and shorts. They are comfortable to sleep in. But some people have more traditional pajamas to wear to bed. And a scarf goes around the neck. It can be a silk scarf. Peggy received a silk scarf from Japan to wear around her neck. That's for beauty, that's to look nice. But there's also the scarf, the winter scarf that we wear to protect our face and neck from the cold temperatures of winter, from the cold wind. And where I live, a scarf is a good idea. It's a good idea to wear a scarf. Handkerchief. The man removed a handkerchief from his pocket and blew his nose. So we use a handkerchief to blow our nose. You probably know what socks are. We put socks on before we put on our shoes. And a belt. Very wide belts were popular in the 1980s. I remember that. The boxer won the heavyweight title and a large jeweled belt. You see a picture of a belt there. And hat. Of course, there are many kinds of hats. Baseball players wear hats during the game. In the movies, Indiana Jones always wears his hat on his adventures. And we certainly need a hat in the winter in the United States. We also need gloves to protect our hands. Gloves protect our hands. They have the individual fingers, but if they don't have the individual fingers on the glove, it's called a mitten. Mitten. Little children will wear mittens to keep their hands warm in the winter. A man's shirt usually has many buttons, and some coats have buttons rather than a zipper. But many coats have zippers. Pants have zippers. You can see a picture of a zipper here. You have to zip up your zipper. The zipper on Marshall's pants broke, so he had to throw the pants away. So I'll conclude this lesson here about shopping for clothes and shopping for groceries and some grocery items and clothing items. I sincerely hope it's been helpful for your listening comprehension, vocabulary, expressions that we use daily in United States English. And I want to thank you. Thank you for joining this CINCILINGUA membership live lesson. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you'll join future lessons. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day.